Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
Been great hotels. You're going to be flying to a different country because Puma was only 300 employees. It had gone down from 14,000 when they were bankrupt to 300, and they only were 4 countries. Okay,
So they were on a shoestring, yeah.
They were no pun intended, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So I
didn't mean to.
It was perfect.
I didn't mean that.
So I went to Germany.
Germany.
I went to Germany, and I was Johann means John or Juan in German, so they called me Little Johann because I was like the little mini him.
Oh.
And I went around. I opened the U.S. and I opened the U.S. office, built the U.S. office, hired 500 people, built and opened Brazil. Basically the G7 countries, and relaunched Puma, which is probably the greatest brand turnaround in 50 years, and didn't make any money doing it.
But you were the right guy at the right time.
I was the right guy at the right time. It was a great learning, but at the same time in 97 to 99, technology was taking off, and what was happening in Silicon Valley and the tech world was unparalleled in history.
Yeah.
So I had all these MBA friends from Wharton who had gone to these companies and they're worth millions of dollars.
Right.
And they were literally stapling letters. They weren't even doing work. Here I was turning a real company around,
Right.
and I was making nothing. And
Yeah.
so, and Germany had no stock options at the time. So I literally couldn't even get stock. And so I asked my boss for a massive raise, and he said, no, you can never get a job like this anywhere in the world with this much power and experience, and which was true at that age. I was 32.
Yeah.
And I said, well, then if you don't do that, I'm going to quit. And he said, well, let me make it easier for you. If you threaten me to quit, I'm going to fire you. And then we were like literally at a standoff. I'm like, wait a second, I just did everything. I just made this guy on the stock market famous. Like it catapulted this guy's career.
Right.
And there's no way he'll fire me. He needs me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I did what they teach you at Procter & Gamble. The main goal of Procter & Gamble is you put everything in your head and everything you learn into the process systems, and you find great people, and you make yourself replaceable.
Right.
Unlike badly run companies, people have power, and every individual, you have to work through them. At P&G, if you get hit by a bus, it's like 2 days of a blip, and it will keep going.
Right.
I wanted to build that culture at Puma, and so I hired all these people, trained everybody, created processes, and he knew that. And so unfortunately, he did the wrong thing with that. And he goes, if you can't quit because I can fire you. And I said, you can't fire me because I did all this. He goes, no, but you did it so well. It's now part of the culture. So you're fired. And so I lost that job as I asked for a raise, which was the best thing that ever happened to me.
You almost did too good a job, Juan.
Well, so I went to go to work in technology. And so I went to work at a company I did not even understand what they did. It was a crazy man that everybody was scared of named Tom Siebel, Siebel.
Yeah.
He was employee number 4 at Oracle and built it into like a 20,000 person monster company.
Right.
And he had an idea to manage with and automate all the processes around sales. He was the head of sales from day one for Larry Ellison.
Right.
Let's use software to automate like the pipeline, and let's call it customer relationship management, and connect sales, marketing, and customer service. And Larry Ellison said, no, let's just keep selling databases. So Tom left or got fired, who knows? And he started Siebel. And I didn't really understand what they were doing, but I did my research, in every MBA school. Siebel Systems in San Mateo, California, it's 30 minutes south of San Francisco, was hiring more MBAs from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Wharton, Chicago than any company in the world, more than McKinsey. And every student at all those companies, at all those schools, 90% of graduates were all applying to this one company. No other company would get more than 10% of a graduating class.
Right.
So I said, I don't know what this guy's making. I don't know what he's building. I don't know what it is. But everybody says this is the most powerful thing that's happening in technology. And I went to go work. I was employee, I think 220.
Okay.
Okay. And 1 year later, we were 12,000 employees. We had 12 million in revenue when I started. 2 years later, we're 3.8, no, $2.8 billion. Imagine that kind of growth. No company's ever done that in less than 5 to 10 years. We did it in 2. So
Unbelievable.
it was great. It was up and fast, and it even went down faster because I mean, I wasn't doing anything with responsibility like I had at Puma. Like I was
Yeah.
just like I was a business development manager for whatever that means. And turns out we all got equity. That's why you get all these MBAs there. And he had the
Right.
smartest MBAs in the world. And our equity, and because of the growth of the company and the value of the company, my equity was worth, I think, around $35 million in 3.5 years.
Wow.
So on vesting, I would vest 5% every quarter. You didn't sell it because every quarter it was up like another like $1
Right.
million.
It'd
So
be crazy to sell it.
why
Yeah.
would you sell it when
Right.
and even when the market tanked in '01, we kept going up. And so
Yeah.
for sure I'm not selling all the Yahoos and the flip-flops and the bean bags and the
Right.
dogs at work. All those .com things are going to
bubble.
bust.
Yeah.
This is a real company. So a
Yeah.
year later, we missed our earnings for the first time in 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I had a sell order for Tuesday for I think 30 million of my 35 million because that's what was vested.
Mm-hmm.
And the market for us tanked the day we missed that earnings on Friday. So I lost everything, 30 million of vested stock in a
Wow.
day.
Oh my gosh.
And so I left Siebel Systems at that point. So
Yeah.
he fired 10,000 employees out of 12,000 in one day.
Wow.
Yeah, as fast as it goes up, it
Unbelievable.
goes down faster.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
So
but
you
I got
you
to
see-
work with some of the smartest people who today basically run Silicon Valley. Everyone
Yeah.
from Siebel Systems went off and ran
Yeah.
and did great things at other software companies.
Yeah, that's understandable considering what they experienced, right? What their resume had to look like, what their education background, everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you pretty much know everybody that does everything in Silicon Valley. That's awesome.
In a way.
That's awesome. So you leave Siebel, where do you go?
So I leave Siebel and I go to I got an interesting call from a headhunting firm, one of the top search consulting firms called Russell Reynolds. And they're like, hey, you speak Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, and English, but do you speak French? I go, no. They're like, can you learn it in 6 months? And I said, I'm pretty sure I could if I like was immersed. Like, okay, there's a large French company. It's one of the largest retailers in the world. They own all these different concepts. So do it yourself. It's the third biggest in the world after Home Depot and the other
Lowe's.
one,
Yeah.
Lowe's.
Yeah.
They own the third biggest hypermarket after Walmart and Tesco, and the head of Carrefour is called the do-it-yourself is called Leroy Merlin. The other one's called Auchan, and then they own the largest sports company in the world, 10 times bigger than Nike.
Wow.
$50 billion. It's called Decathlon. And they bought this $500 million 20-store division in Boston called MVP Sports, and a division in Boston, and they're losing money. They need a CEO, but they only hire from within. Can you go to France for between 1 and 5 years, learn French, move up the system? Nobody's going to know you're a future CEO. It's like an incognito job. And if you fail, you're fired, you get nothing. If you succeed, you'll be the CEO, first foreign company to come in the US and open 800 stores. Would you want to do that? And we'll pay you a lot of money in cash. I'm like, okay. And so I went to France, and I was fluent in French within 3.5 months. It was crazy. I couldn't believe I did it.
Wow.
And before I knew it, I was on the operating committee of the company with 200,000 employees making decisions for I think that 37 countries, 10,000 stores.
Wow.
And then kept, top department, top store, top region. Then they sent me back to the US as CEO, became CEO of the US, made the money for the first time in 12 years, turned around all the stores, same with Brazil. And then tried to open them one mega store, their true format. And then I got vetoed, and then put an offer, another got vetoed, an offer, another vetoed. Turns out that they weren't willing to spend the money that it costs to have real estate in the US.
Oh, wow.
They wanted to spend $18 a square foot, and real estate was going for about 45 a square foot
Right.
in the areas that they wanted it.
Right.
And so those 5 years were, and I worked, it's retail. I mean, I'm unloading trucks for the first 5 years, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. every day, 7 days a week. I mean, they were paying me a lot of money, and I wanted to get back to the US. You can only live in France and take it for so long.
Right.
And so, I mean, I lived an hour from Paris and never made it to Paris.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking 7 days a week without, 18 hours a day, but it was amazing. I'm not complaining. I
Yeah.
became a great retailer, a great operator,
Well, you
and
learned a
learned
ton. Yeah.
fluent French and
Yeah.
learned about a great people in France. Um, and uh, and I came back to the US, CO, succeeded, but closed it all down. And that chapter ended a little bittersweet, but it was a great experience. I think all experiences are great.
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe the universe is always in perfect balance, no matter what outcome happens.
Yeah. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
Bingo.
Right.
There's a term for that.
Yeah.
Pronoia.
Yeah. And
Because people are,
you're either going to learn, succeed, or you're going to learn one of the two.
yes. Yeah, people are paranoid that things they have bad luck, whatever. I believe in pronoia. Everything is there for you to take from, and
Yeah.
it's a planet of abundance.
Yeah.
And everything's exactly where it should be, and it's all perspective.
Yeah. I totally agree. So you leave there, or actually, right, shut it down. Where do you go from there?
At that point, I was tired of the corporate, right? The Reeboks, the Pumas, the Siebels, and all these ups and downs and the politics and the politics and the politics.
Mm-hmm.
So I was tired. And I hadn't really dated in like 10 years. All I did was work all those time, right?
Right.
And I was still in amazing shape, still never touched alcohol or cigarettes or anything. So I mean, I was running marathons, sub 3 hours. I mean, I was like the best mental performance, physical performance, and career performance. And I knew I wanted to get married. I mean, at the end of the day, my whole life goal was to have a family. So that was still,
Sure.
the box that I saw to check.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make money before then, and I had some money from that decathlon experience. But so I was like, what am I going to do now? What am I really good at? And I've always been great at connecting people and understanding people. It's like my superpower. And
Mhm.
so, you could plot me literally anywhere in the world, China,
Mhm.
Afghanistan, and like within like 6 months to a year, I'll be like organizing and influencing and leading and understanding society, culture, and people at a different level. And so I said, what can I do? And it arced back to my college years when I went to Office of Career Services at Harvard, and the woman there said, you should think about being a headhunter. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I kind of laughed at it. It was like, why would I go to Harvard to be a headhunter, to be a
Right.
recruiter, right? For executives. Well, I thought more and more about it, and I started contacting them. And then I learned that these people make between $3 and $5 million a year,
Yeah.
like the best racket out there.
Yeah.
And they weren't even doing a lot of the work. They had all these like minions doing the work for them.
Yep.
And it was all based on relationships. So I thought, oh my God, I'm really good at hiring. I'm really good at leadership and team
Mhm.
building. I see that aspect of human capital. And so basically my first career was operating, doing. My second career was really human capital and leveraging relationships and understanding psychology. And so that was like the next 15 years leading up to my current software company. And so I went to become the youngest partner at Heidrick & Struggles in New York City, finding executives for strategy roles, IT roles, and retail roles.
Mhm.
So that was great. I did that 4 years in New York. Then I moved to Miami and went to Korn Ferry for 4 years. And then I did my own search firm called Gonza Executive Search for 4 years. So it was like this 12-year big chapter around executive search, making lots of money and doing what I loved. I mean, I didn't even see it as work. And
Yeah.
it was amazing.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So where are you today?
Yeah. So after that 12 years, I got really into spirituality and here in Miami. And in all my deep meditations, which is probably the best way of describing the type of spirituality I was doing, not religious, but meditative, more like a Buddhist. I became like a Buddhist. I got a message that I spent my whole life becoming like a warrior of business, becoming a wise man of so many things and so many cultures, that I had been prepared to change the world. And literally cocooning, to your earlier comment, and getting a nice apartment with a beautiful view and just, meeting, girls and having fun and, not caring about the world, and just like I'd started to drink, but it wasn't like I was, going crazy, but just having fun was not what life was supposed to be. And that I
Right.
was missing the point. And
Right.
that I had been given all these gifts to do something greater. And that in the next month, I'd be presented with a business idea that I should pursue, because that would be my purpose. And I scoffed at that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, really, the universe just told me that my purpose is going to be handed to me. And
Right.
sure enough, though, within 4 weeks, I met someone who introduced me to somebody, and Human Intelligence was born. And there were a couple other co-founders. It's a convoluted story, but long story short, I got involved with Human Intelligence, first as an investor, then as an operator, and then CEO, which is now what I do now. It's been 7 years. And I wanted to create a tool to improve hiring so people could find through psychometric matching. It's like a personality test.
Yeah.
The jobs and careers where they'd be happiest, where they'd perform the best, and where they wouldn't get fired, and where companies would not have all this turnover, and where they could perform the best, right? A double bottom line where everyone's happy working, everyone's happy at the company, every team is operating better. And so we actually built that for 4 years and grew it to a couple $1 million in revenue, 20 employees. But then COVID happened. And I would have loved to have been a restaurant because they didn't lose their demand for hunger or food.
Right.
They just had to figure out how to get there. A big challenge, right?
Right.
But at least they still had a chance.
Right.
We lost all revenue within 3 months because nobody in the right mind was going to be paying a monthly invoice for recruiting software when all they were doing was firing. And so we lost all revenue, fired 16 employees. And so I had to pivot. And so what we became, which is now what we do, is Human Intelligence for Smarter Collaboration, which is the world's first tool that basically does what Grammarly does.
Right.
Grammarly takes grammar and vocabulary and puts it at your fingertips, which makes it really powerful. They're worth $15 billion. We do the same as Grammarly, but instead of grammar, we give tips on how to communicate with somebody, how to work with somebody, how to lead somebody, how to run a meeting, how to run training, all in your workflows, all in your Slack, in your email, in your G Suite, in your Outlook, in your Teams, in your virtual meetings, so that in any moment you can be and work better with others, lead others better, so every team performs better.
Is this based on psychometrics?
It's based on psychometrics. You give a 10-minute test, a link to 50,000 employees on a Monday, and 50,000 employees that afternoon are all like an IO psychologist. Whereas the old model for 50 years with DISC, predictive index, Strength Finders, and all these other tools, you use it during the workshop, and you pay $20K for that workshop.
Right.
The workshop does not include the other 50,000 employees, so it's also a waste. If you do remember it, you don't find the information. It's a complete waste of money. $3 billion industry, completely wasted. 2 uses maybe. Our tool gets used about 20 times a month by every employee, so about 250 uses. The power and the value of what we've done, taking psychometrics to a whole nother level, is 2 uses versus 250. We've even incorporated AI where you write an email to anybody in the company, click our button in your email, it rewrites the email the way that Mike Litton likes to read and understand information. And so you can imagine AI is recommending to you in meetings what you're doing right and wrong and how to get the most engagement. It's really HR technology and AI that makes work more human, not less human. It does not replace people. It enhances people, makes everyone happier.
Well, it helps with retention, right?
Helps with retention,
and
reduces turnover.
Yeah, it helps you communicate effectively the way they want to be communicated with. Like I've been teaching DISC for 32 years.
Oh, so you know this world.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And so I've been teaching this for a very, very long time, that it's not about you as the leader. It's about the people you're leading. Right. And if you care more about those people than you do about yourself, that's the #1 fundamental rule of leadership. Is you have to care more about them than you do about yourself. So you want to, like, for instance, with an I-dominated personality type, their single greatest fear is no. So you never say no to those people, right?
So what you did for 30 some years with DISC, imagine the magic that occurred during your training. But you weren't scalable to 50,000 people.
Right.
Imagine in one day, there are 50,000 Mike Littons whispering or popping up in the software in any communication platform. It's funny what you say about leadership. At Procter & Gamble, more CEOs have come from there to run Fortune 500 than any other company. The one thing they trained me was exactly what you were saying. And it was my big wake-up call. Because here I was, this like, egocentric, hot Harvard alum at Procter & Gamble, thinking I'm the best, right? And I got promoted to manage my team of assistant brand managers. I was now going to manage 5 people. So 0 management experience to 5. My boss pulls me and said, "Hey, congratulations, Juan. You just got promoted, but guess what? Now the hard part begins." I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm the boss now. I don't have to do all the work." He goes, "No, worse. Doing the actual analysis is easy. Leadership is hard." He goes, "You now have to change for every subordinate, and you can't just be one way. You have to have 5 versions of Juan.
You have to be willing to adapt."
And I thought, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so what we do at Human Intelligence allows every leader and every person to adapt to others, understand others, and kind of like you do in marriage,
Yeah.
come to the middle, not in 6 months, but in any moment of contact.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I love this. I love this.
We got to get it out.
So you've been doing this now, this version, right? You've been with them for
Since
7
COVID.
years, right? But since COVID, you changed the makeup basically, right? So people are literally getting, not only are they able to have their emails rewritten the way that recipient needs to hear it, that'll most effectively communicate with them. They also get tips in their Slack about different ways to reach these people.
Yep. If you're in Slack and you're working with 5 new developers in 3 different countries, which often is software engineers, it'll say, hey, this group are all decisive. Mary is deliberate. So, hey, everybody, don't get pissed off if Mary takes a little time to answer. She's not doing it on purpose. There is no right or wrong. You 5 are not right just because the majority are decisive.
Right.
There's a duality in life. And for every behavioral trait, there's an equal and opposite behavioral trait. Same with motivations, values, and work energizers. And so across these 28 attributes, we never have a high or a low, because, with DISC, there's high and low. Nobody can feel bad. Everyone is perfect the way God made them. This just allows everyone to understand that. Like if Mike Litton is doing a training with 10 people and they are all conceptual and don't like data-driven approach, you would approach that training very differently than if they were data-driven. Same if they're all decisive versus deliberate. Same if they like to work in a team versus self-study. Probably self-study, send them materials beforehand, not just lay it on them in the meeting, right? So imagine if everyone could just understand each other as if they've been married to people for 10 years, but every day, every minute for everyone in the company.
Well, the best thing about it is these people get an opportunity to appreciate the strengths of that other person.
Yes.
Right? That's the best thing about DISC training is when I teach DISC, I'm teaching them who they are, and then I'm teaching them the unique capabilities of the other 3 behavioral styles, right? Right? So there's certain things you never do with them, and then there's certain things you always do with them, right? And you need to understand that, like an S, for instance, is slower, right? They're more deliberative. They're more careful. These are the people who get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and check their bank balance after they looked at their statement 3 hours before, right? I mean, it's like, right? But they go in and they check just because change doesn't work for them. So you don't show up to them and go, hey, baby, we're going to close in 8 days, right? These people go, cataclysmic, right? I mean, it's you with me? So that's beautiful, because one of the things that I think is lacking, especially in leadership, is the education where leaders can appreciate what different people bring in behavioral style to the equation, right? So somebody like me, I know you know what I am, but somebody like me who's all D, right? I've got people that are on my team that are C's that I dearly love. I dearly love those people, but their favorite thing to say to me, one, is you can't do it like that.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because I haven't seen a rule or a law that I didn't want to bend and or break. Right? Because I'm focused, I'm like a bull in a china closet, and I want to get it done. Right? This needs to get finished. Right? I don't rest until it's done.
So it's interesting. It's a great use case where you've been training on the DISC, which is one of the frameworks of behavioral. Part of also the challenge of these assessments and these personality tests, whether it's DISC, Strength Finders, Predictive Index, Caliper, Berkman, et cetera, is that you usually have to get someone who's certified, and you have to memorize letters like D, S, I, and the audience here might think, what do these letters mean?
Right.
We've also taken all that away, where there's no more need for the certified HR team or the certified trainer. And so we're trying to disintermediate the need to train and learn. We've had some clients say, oh my gosh, but it was so painful to learn DISC, or so painful for us. And I'm thinking, well, you don't have to go through pain anymore. Now the tool will just give you a tip. You don't even need to know what the other person is. It'll just say, put more information here or put less.
Yeah. I've never been happier to be obsolete in my life. This is perfect, man. This is perfect. I love this. That is awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations. I'm happy.
We can have a whole side conversation. I didn't realize that you were an expert in all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't tell people, right? I mean, I told you, but I don't broadcast it. So, but it's fun. I mean, I love to people watch, which I'm sure you do too, right? I love to people watch, and I'm like, oh, there goes a D, right? Or, oh, look at that eye, right? They're so sparkly, right? You know. So yeah, man, that is wild. So that's really cool what you're doing. And then is there anything else that you're working on currently?
No, I mean that and a 3 and a 5-year-old with my wife. That's a whole another family.
Congratulations.
Project. Yeah. So
I have a 23-year-old and a 25-year-old, so I'm on the other end of it.
Yes, that time can't come soon enough.
I miss when they were that age, man.
Everyone always looks back and says I miss the younger years, but I don't know. The diapers and the not eating off a menu and hard to travel. I can't wait till they're like 7 to 13.
Yeah. Well, as they get older, it gets more fun. Okay.
Yes. And everyone says that. Like you get every year for the rest of your life, it's going to get better and better. Isn't that
you get to go to more sporting events, all that kind of stuff. And then one day, like this, they're gone. They're off to college. They're no longer in the house. They've got their first job out of college. They've got girlfriends. They've got boyfriends. Right? And it's like, really? Right? It goes by so fast, right? There's
at that point you pick up pickleball, right?
Paisley sings called "Blink." Don't blink. You know, right? So yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like I blinked. So I am so excited about what you're doing, and I'm so excited about human intelligence. This is really, really cool. And you've now, after all of this, and you've been prepared for this your whole life. You know that, right? This is really cool what you're doing. And I cannot thank you enough for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Now, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to send me a link that we can put in the description. So if people want to reach out to Human Intelligence, they can reach out directly to you. Is that okay?
Sure. You might put it in right now to the chat.
Yeah, so go ahead and put it, go ahead and email it to me and we'll put it in the description. Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate you, buddy. It was so great to get to know you. I truly enjoyed every minute of this.
Mike, thanks so much for sharing my story with your audience. I really appreciate it. And
I appreciate you, buddy.
Okay.
Take care. It was good to get to know you.
Thank you.
Take care. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out Calendly.com/Rio760.